Hello, everyone. My name is Bren,
And my name's Jem.
and this is the Trunk2Tale Podcast, in which we're seeking to humanize healthcare through the sharing of stories.
And this week, it's a great pleasure to be talking to Manjeet Nijjer. And my friend Sandeep passed me on a post on LinkedIn, and I found it really touching and very appropriate to our purpose. I'm just going to read a little bit from it. Since Mum transcended, I've struggled to really find purpose in what I do as a human being to help others in similar positions. I really had no idea where to start. And this is Manjit talking about her mum who died with vascular dementia. So it just chimes so well with what Brendan and I are trying to do. So Manjit, thanks very much for coming on board and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me. Do you know what? Hearing my own words read back to me, it kind of, oh, it hits hard, right?
Yeah.
When somebody else is reading those back to you, you do, I'm getting quite emotional. You do feel it more, I think, than when you're actually writing. Me personally, now that somebody's reading it back to me, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that kind of hits hard. That Mom's, obviously, she's been gone 3 years. So, yeah, it just kind of brings it home a bit more that she's not here. Like physically,
Yeah.
she's with me all the time in other ways, but physically she's not here anymore. So yeah, but thank you for asking me on board to come on, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
That's okay because what you talked about in that LinkedIn post was this dementia-friendly community at Hillingdon in
Yeah.
London, and we'd like to get onto that later. But seeing as we're on the topic of your wonderful mum,
Yeah.
perhaps you can tell us a little bit about that journey, her dementia journey, and how that was for you and your family. Your wider family. It'd be really interesting to hear about that.
So my mum, her name is Gurmej Kaur. So she came over from India in the early 60s, something like that. Dad was already over here, elder brother, elder sister, and then 4 of us younger ones were born here. Mom was always active, larger than life character, loved to like for Indian traditional Punjabi gidda we call it, traditional Punjabi dancing, folk music, all of that kind of stuff. Loved to cook. She was a feeder, and so on. And then she aged naturally, as we all do. And then it was about 12 years before she passed on that we noticed a slight difference in her. Couldn't really put a finger on it. And then one day, one of my younger brothers, happened to be there, and she was sitting in the kitchen, and she said to him, she said, "Oh, I feel like somebody's hit me on the back of the head." Like, like she's had something wallop her in the back of the head. And he was like, "Mom, your face isn't right." Took her to the doctors, and she'd had a stroke. So that was the beginning of it, really. But it did then still take quite a while for her to be diagnosed. We started noticing the differences. But they send you to the memory clinic, and what's your name? She knew her name, she knew the address, she knew how to get home. So it was like, no, there's nothing wrong with you. But then gradually it became more and more obvious that dementia, the vascular dementia, was taking hold. And by the way, I don't like the word disease because it's not a disease, it's a condition. It's a condition that person and the family then deal with on a day-to-day basis. And then imagine your mom, who's always cooked, kept the house clean, washed, ironed, looked after my dad, old school couple. All right, she cooked, dad sat, had the paper, that sort of stuff, right? She slowly started to forget little things, to turn the gas off. She used to get the bus quite regularly to go to the Sikh Gurdwara in Handsworth in Birmingham, because that's where my family is from. And then one day she couldn't remember how to get back home. But what we'd done was in her purse put a phone number and address. So she got back home. My dad went shopping one day. She was with him, and pushing the trolley. He turned around and she'd gone. And then, as fate would have it, one of my youngest brothers happened to be in the same shop, saw her and said, Mom, what are you doing by yourself? She goes, oh, your dad's left me. And obviously he hadn't.
Yeah.
So found my dad and so on. And like gradually, you know, she got worse and worse and worse. And she got to the point where she stopped recognizing me. I didn't live there. My younger sister, her name's Valvia, to give her a proper name. She was Mom's main carer. Her and my dad were the main carers. I live in London, so I used to go and visit, and I used to go and stay and so on. So each time I went back, I could see the deterioration, how the condition was taking more and more hold of her. You know, I walked in one day and she just looked at me face blank, and my heart just broke. I was like, oh my God, she doesn't know who I am. But then I got thinking, well, how do I get around this without upsetting her? So I just said, oh, do you know what, Mom? I said, I've cut my hair. That's why you can't, it's me, it's Manjeet, I've cut my hair. She goes, will you stop confusing me by doing things like that? And we laughed it off. You know, other times she'd remember who I was. It was absolutely fine. You know, but she slowly forgot how to chop vegetables, and you know, how to make roti, which is chapatis and stuff like that, and how to make the dough and cook the curries and all of this kind of stuff. She slowly started to forget. You know, taking tablets on time. We had carers come in eventually. They used to take, you know, make sure that Mom had a medication and so on. A couple of times she ended up.
Yeah, just ask a question. Was your did your mum forget she'd ever known, or did she? So was she frustrated that things that she used to be able to do she couldn't do and forgotten how to do, or did she forget she could ever do them? If that makes sense.
She forgot that she could ever do them.
Okay, so
she didn't get frustrated to that extent. She used to get. There were times when she used to say, "I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I don't understand." Right, and I remember having late night chats with her, like, you know, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and she'd be sitting downstairs talking to me, and in Punjabi. And she used to, there's a saying in Punjabi, if you open up someone's tummy, that's where you find where all their emotions and feelings and so on are. And she used to say, if you look inside in my tummy, you'll find out what's going on. Right, that's where everything's held. And that used to break my heart. You know, and I've recorded some of those conversations. I've got them on video, so.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, that speaks to the thing that we're trying to do is sort of you know, create these memories. Just she spoke English perfectly well, but she was starting to talk Punjabi more.
So she's always been that way. It was always a mixture of both. When we were growing up, we were not allowed to speak anything but Punjabi at home. But obviously, as we got older, it became a mixture of Punjabi and English. And Mum and Dad had been in England for such a long time that English was their second language.
Right.
You know, so it was quite funny at times. They'd say something in Punjabi and we'd respond in English. So you're kind of like your brain's going from one gear to another gear.
Yeah. No, I was only asking because, you know, there's this sort of idea that people are reverting to the long memory, not the short-term memory. And if that was Punjabi was more natural to her, she'd start to speak more Punjabi, less English. But you're saying that
No. I mean, one of the things we did notice with Mom was that she used to sit on the sofa and constantly get up and look out the dining room window, like literally sit up and like look out the window like that. I was like, Mom, what are you looking at? She goes, it's the way home. I'm like, but you are home. This is initially, we didn't quite know what was going on. It's like, well, you are home. No, that's home. I need to get home. And then we realised what she thought was out the window was home was back in Punjab, where she was from. She thought that's where that she had to leave to go there. And she used to say, I'm going to get in trouble. I need to get home. You know, nobody knows where I am. And then we, as a family, would say, Mom, it's okay. They know where you are. They know you're with us. You're not going to get in any trouble. You know, and then she was like, but I need to see my mom. I'm like, we'll take you to your mom. Don't worry. You know, initially it was a bit like, well, your mom's gone. She's not here. And then she'd get upset. So we learned through that process, not to lie to her, but to go along with where she was. Right. So initially it was like, well, no, your mom's passed away. whatever. But then it was like, okay, that's where mom believes she is, so let's just give her the comfort that she needs, rather than having these arguments or frustrating conversations and things, because it is really frustrating as somebody that you love. You can't have those conversations anymore that you had. It's really frustrating, and it's hard. And there were times when I cried. My sister would cry when the first time she didn't recognize my dad. She was like, "Who's that man?" They were married for nearly 65 years before she passed away.
Yes.
And that's heartbreaking to see that, oh my God, she doesn't even recognize him.
Sorry, Manjeet, how long do you think it took you and your family to learn, if you like, that the best way to communicate was go with the flow rather than seek to correct or remind?
It took quite a while, if I'm honest. Right, it wasn't something that happened overnight. And the frustrating thing was that nobody gave us any advice of how to actually, help my mom and therefore help ourselves at the same time. Nobody gave us any advice like that at all. We didn't know where to turn to, social services or websites. You're not in that headspace at the time. But when the doctors diagnosed my mom, it was like, well, here's a diagnosis. And that was it. And then you're left to your own devices, trying to figure out how you're going to, work your way through as the condition kind of gathers force over time.
Yeah. So, I mean, what about all those, because we know there's the Alzheimer's Society, and we know there's Dementia UK, and we know there's these organisations. Did you find anything in those places that?
But we didn't even go looking. I'll be honest with you. We didn't go looking because we didn't know. We hadn't had dementia in the family. My nan had dementia, my mom's mom, right? But that was many years ago, and she was, I don't know, maybe in her 90s or something. I can't remember exactly. So you kind of put it down to its old age.
Yeah.
Right. So whereas mom, you were aware of Alzheimer's Society kind of like somewhere in the background, but I think until it happens to you, you don't know until you're impacted by it. Oh, it's a charity. This is the good work they do, and so on. But what do you know about it? Nothing really.
I think there's also that feeling. Sorry, Bryn, go on.
No. I think you're right, and also there's a tendency to be self-reliant, isn't there? I think in the beginning, you don't go seeking help. You think, oh, well, mum's got a problem. What can we do? But I don't think charity is necessarily, or an advice centre is necessarily the first place you think of going.
I mean, we were lucky because my younger sister Val, she'd been in care for a long time. So, she was a carer, and she used to look after elderly and people who went end of life, and, palliative care and all that kind of thing. So we had her for guidance. But I think what we also forgot, that she's also a daughter, not just a carer. So she had a lot of it's not a burden, but a lot of the pressure was on her because she had the experience and because she had the knowledge. So, and it's only with hindsight we can say actually she was a daughter as well. Not just a carer. She didn't want to be the carer of her mom.
No.
Right, but she was guiding us through the process, so we were blessed in the sense that we had her in that way. But then where was the cutoff for her?
I think that's probably a good message for everybody, is that when it's somebody else's person, you can keep yourself a little bit separated from the emotional pain of it. But if it's your own, of course, and then, but we've all got this desire that we want the best person, whoever we think is the best. We want them to do it. So you get the natural person gets caught in a trap, don't they?
Absolutely.
And then how do they get themselves out of it without seeming to be somehow, I don't know what it is, but not doing what they feel they should? Because we're all to that guilt, aren't we, about not looking after our loved one as much as we might. So well, we'll take that bit out as a short, because that really is something worth people paying attention to. I think is don't assume one member's going to take over, because it could be an ungodly pressure on them.
Oh,
So,
100%.
yeah,
100%. I mean, she said like early on when she first moved in, because it was during COVID, that my dad was like, I can't cope anymore. I just can't cope. His mum was non-stop talking, right? And he was like, I can't cope. I don't know what
yeah,
to do.
yeah,
So I live in London. My brother's had younger children. My sister, bless her heart, she's a widow, and her kids were growing up and living their lives. So she was like, you know what, I'll move in. And we were like, nobody's forcing you to do it. It's got to be your decision. That's what she says. No, I'll move in. And she moved in. She's been there ever since. She hasn't moved back out after mum passed away. She was like, I
yeah,
can't leave dad on his own. So
yeah,
she's still there. But she moved in and took over a lot of the stuff that dad couldn't help with, mum's personal hygiene and things like that. And also, I learned a lot from my sister, because she showed me how to bathe mum. When mom, well, we say lost her legs, she couldn't get up and down the stairs, and she was in a hospital bed in the end at home. How to turn her, how to clean her, how to bathe her, and even how to wash somebody's hair when they're in a hospital bed. It's like, okay, there's an art to this, there's a technique to this, all of that kind of stuff. So it was heartbreaking, when mom was constantly saying, like, she had a catheter, but she constantly said, I need a wee, I need a wee. So you're constantly taking her to the toilet, because if you don't, she's just going to keep going on and on and on. So you take her, and I help her to take the bottom half of her clothes off, so she can, do what she needs to do. She's sitting there, she goes, oh, there's nothing coming now. Okay, mom, no worries. Let's sort you back out. Let's wash your hands anyway, and let's go and sit you down, whatever. Sometimes she'd get up and she'd come into the kitchen. She's like, I want to help. You're not letting me help. Okay, what do you want to do? Oh, I don't know. So, okay, there's some dishes in the sink. Do you want to wash those? Okay, I'll try. Then she'll wash up, and then she'll say, turn the water off. There's certain things that crack me up. It's like, doesn't remember anything else. Right, turn the water off because we're on a water meter. Okay.
Yeah. Money.
Yeah, we used to record all these moments, so we've got them on our phones, and we'd share them between us, like these funny moments, and then like mom wanted to vacuum, and they had one of these long handle things, and she could just about manage to push it, but we've got it on video, and I voice recorded her, because mom was a baptized Sikh. So there was prayers that she had to do in the morning and the evening as part of that. And so when I used to go, I used to help her do them, because I know them as well. And then one day I just recorded her doing them. So forever have I got that on my phone,
Right.
that voice note, that recording of her. And I shared it with my siblings, saying, look, I recorded mom this morning, blah, 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 blah. There's certain things that people don't forget. And to my mom, her faith was really, really, it was a part of her, and even when she'd lost her legs and she wasn't talking to us, she'd stopped speaking as well. Her bed was downstairs, and the evening prayers, dad used to put them on the TV, and we could see mom, and she used to mouth them.
Yes. Yeah.
So we could see her, because she never forgot them, but she used to mouth them because she couldn't speak anymore, but she could mouth them.
That's a bit like singing.
So
People can often join in songs, isn't it? In a way, whereas they might forget our faces, or our names.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did you, Manjeet?
And there's.
Sorry, go on. Carry on. No, go on.
No, go for it. No, go for it.
No, I was just going to ask, because obviously your sister moved in, you said, to help look after your mother. And was there ever consideration in the family that your mother would go into a care home?
No.
It was never ever discussed, or?
No, my dad said that while he's alive, she's not going to go into a care home.
Right.
And then he also said to my sister, he said, you have to promise me that if I go before your mom, that she's not going to be shoved from pillar to post. In Punjabi, we say, rol na jave, right? Which is just shoved from here to there and wherever. And my sister was like, Dad, there's no way that's going to happen. Even if I have to give up working, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So, and then I remember the night that Mum passed away, we were all with her. Sorry. The night she passed away, we were all with her, and then I remember Dad saying, I'm happy now if God takes me, because she's gone to a better place, so now I'm happy to go. So
Wow.
he didn't want her to go into care. In the Punjabi culture, it's not the done thing. In the UK, in India it started to happen, but in the UK it doesn't happen so much. However, I think we need to look at every family's individual circumstances as to whether having your loved one in a place where you've gone and you've checked it all out and you're happy with it, and you know, and they're comfortable there and so on, then there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because it really depends on your own circumstances. It really, really, and nobody should be made to feel guilty, because society does that to you. Nobody should be made to feel guilty for, you know, looking after your loved ones in a different way than having them at home.
And do
You
you
know, there's
think
plenty of people who are out there going to make you feel guilty.
and so you do think then that society still makes people, because actually most people that I come across do tend to end up, you know, placing their parent in care. And you still think society makes people feel guilty, do you?
In my culture, yes.
Right, okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm a mixture of cultures, aren't I? I'm British and I'm
Sure.
Punjabi as well.
Yes.
So in Punjabi culture, it's very much about we take care of our own, we look after our own,
Yeah.
and so on, you know. So yeah, I think people, society, definitely, and there's many cultures, not just the Punjabi culture, like if you the Middle East, right, all there with we're similar cultures along there. And it's like your parents looked after you when you were young and you were ill and so on and so forth, then it's your opportunity to do the same. And we call it in Punjabi, we say seva, right? Seva is looking after somebody, something, you know, and it could be, I used to go and cut my mum's toenails. That was my job, because she couldn't reach her feet anymore and she wouldn't be able to use a pair of clippers. And her fingernail, oh my God, it was like having a child. Right, you know, when you cut a little child's fingernails, and it was like that a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Right, bless her heart. So I used to do that. My brother used to do it before me, but then he got really sick. He had cancer, so when he couldn't come round anymore, so I used to cut mum's nails and things like that. But yeah, it's we call it seva, so looking after somebody when they need you, you know, when they need something. So.
Yeah, we talked in a previous podcast to a woman who'd run a care home. It was Brendan's mum's care home. Is that right, Bernie?
Yeah, my dad's care home. That's right, in Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah. And she stopped now. And one of the things she said was that she felt that families were getting a little bit further away from their loved ones. That I think that's not an unfair description of what she said, is it, Bren?
No, that's accurate. Yeah.
What do you think of that? I mean, do you think that's true, that somehow we're drifting apart a little bit, or?
Well, I think the way society has changed so much over the years. I mean, look at us. How are we changing? We're not actually in the same room,
No.
right? Technology has kind of added to people drifting. Okay, the only way I could speak to my parents during lockdown, because I was here and they're in Birmingham, was by a WhatsApp video call.
Yeah.
I could speak to them, but I couldn't see them.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember crying after like 3 months. My dad finally got a smartphone.
Right.
Okay, because I could see them again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you crying for?" I said, "Dad, I haven't seen you for 3 months." And he's like, "Don't be silly. We're fine." You know. But I think society, we are drifting. I think what's happening is that, and this is generally, I think, across most cultures, is that back in the old days, everybody lived together, worked near each other, and as we all got married, it was relatively close. Like you lived down the road, or the next 15, 20 minutes away, or half an hour, maximum about an hour away from where your family actually are. But then, as the job market has changed, people have moved away for work. So the parents are wherever they are, and then the children have gone to, let's say, from London to Birmingham to Newcastle, other side of the world, other countries. So we are that distance between families is definitely it's getting bigger, I think, in my experience and in my opinion.
But it's interesting because I mean I can see what you're saying. On the other hand, supposing the other hand, you know, when I went to university, it was a weekly call to my mum or dad, and I had to stand in the hall of residence to get access to the phone.
Yeah.
My kids talking to me all the time. I say, shut up and go away. I don't want to talk about cricket or whatever it is you want to talk about this second, or the film or whatever. So, you know, it's I liken this, you know, they were all playing on their Xboxes all in away from each other, but they seem to have a hive mind in a different way. We used to have to go physically and gather. They seem to be able to gather remotely in a different sort of way. So it swings and roundabouts.
But I think I get what you're saying. Okay. On the other hand, what's happening is that we're not socially connecting anymore in the same way, and that then impacts the brain, and that then leads to isolation. And we're using more and more of this technology. We're playing more video games or whatever it is, right? We're on our phones a lot more, on our tablets and so on. You know, I mean, you're both wearing headphones that are not wired. You're wearing wireless headphones, right?
Yes.
To me, that's a big no-no, because mine's wired. Because of the impact that Wi-Fi and all those, that signal is going, it's affecting my brain.
Right.
So, and I think society is turning into, I think we're all, to some extent, not using our brains the way they're meant to be used. And in social interactions where we're socially sitting together, we're socially having conversations, we're seeing each other's expressions and so on. Yeah. The conversation flows differently and you learn so much more. Whereas it like this, where we're having now, it's the one stops and then somebody else can start talking. But actually, if you're in the same room, the conversation flows very differently.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And we haven't even mentioned AI, Manjeet.
Conversation for
we won't go there.
Let's not go there.
We've got a couple of minutes left, Manjeet.
Yeah.
And to be honest, for next time, I heard you pronounce your own first name. We'll make an effort.
Manjeet, yeah, that's so hard.
We'll make an effort to pronounce your name properly. But can you come back and talk about Hillingdon at another point?
I'd love to. I would absolutely love to.
It's so fascinating talking to you. Well, there's another, you know, this can go on forever, these conversations. So but we like to leave on a positive note. And I just wonder, you know, when you look back on that experience with your mum, what, I mean, I can see the love you have for her. That is all very positive, of course. But is there anything you know, positive things from the experience? You go, okay, yes, it was terrible, it was horrible. However, you know, what
I mean, it was one of the hardest experiences of my life, of all of us. I think, just to kind of like put some meat to the bone, so to speak, 5 months earlier, one of my younger brothers, he'd passed from cancer. So then 5 months later, my mum then went. So we were grieving one person, and then we had mum's diagnosis that she was now end of life, as the doctors then said, and she was on morphine and all that sort towards the end and so on. So then it was mum's turn. So we stopped grieving for him, like, we can't do that. We have to get more focused on mum. I think what's come out of it is it's actually brought us closer as a family. Now, it doesn't happen for every family. Some families blow up. For us, it's brought us closer as a family. That we can, as long as we're together, we can deal with anything. Doesn't matter what it is. You know, that's one of the biggest takeaways. The other takeaway for me personally is I've learned a lot through mom's condition deteriorating as to what I can then try and do. That if I do have dementia at some point, that what I'm doing now will have an impact on the impact it has on me and those around me. So I'm doing everything I can around with my nutrition. I'm taking the holistic approach.
Yeah.
So, spiritually, holistically, nutritionally, physically, all that kind of stuff. So that if at some point I'm in the same condition, it won't have the same impact on me. So for me, it's actually taught me that I need to look after my health first and foremost, and everything else is secondary.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Well, I have to say you've been an inspiration.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you so much.
It's just really fascinating to talk to you. So thank you, and please come back again.
I'd love to come back.
And if there was any chance of talking to other people in your family, that would also be, if they were interested. I will.
They're not as open as me, shall we say?
Well,
they could come on with you.
It's lovely. That's right. Anyway,
thank you, Manjeet.
Thanks again to Manjeet, and bye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye, everyone. Bye.